Hello, and welcome back to Creepy Chronicles. Before we begin, feel free to leave a comment and tell me where you're listening from. I love reading every single one. If you enjoy Creepy Chronicles filled with spine-chilling horror, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Now get comfortable. Dim the lights if you dare. Relax your mind. Let the outside world fade away. And let's begin. Story one there is a woman in the bank across the street. I noticed her this morning, and at first I did not think much of it. People stand around in banks all the time. Customers wait to speak with someone. Staff members stand behind desks. Security guards watch the doors. It is not strange to see a person standing still for a few minutes. But she has been standing there all day. That is the part I cannot ignore. My living room window looks across the street toward the local bank. I live on the first floor of an apartment block, and from my window, I have a clear view into one of the upstairs offices. It is a small office, probably used by managers or advisors. I can see desks, computer screens, filing cabinets, and sometimes people having meetings. I never meant to watch them in a creepy way. It is just there, right in front of me. When you sit alone in your flat long enough, your eyes start following whatever is outside. The woman is standing at the back of that office. She has long black hair and a white dress. She has not moved once. Not once. I first saw her after breakfast. I was sitting on the sofa with a cup of tea, half watching television and half looking out the window. The bank was open, and the upstairs office had people moving around like usual. A man in a blue shirt sat at one of the computers. A woman with short blonde hair spoke to a customer at a small table. Someone else walked in and out with papers. Everything looked normal. Then I noticed the woman in white, standing near the back wall. She was facing forward, not toward the people in the room, not toward the desks, but toward the window, toward my side of the street. At first, I thought she might be a customer waiting for someone. Then I thought maybe she was part of some display. A mannequin, maybe, but why would a bank have a mannequin? It is not a clothing shop. It is not Halloween. There is no reason for a bank to put a creepy woman in a white dress in an upstairs office. The strangest part was that none of the bank workers seemed to notice her. People walked around her. They drank coffee. They laughed. They leaned over desks and pointed at documents. A man opened a filing cabinet a few feet away from her and did not glance in her direction. No one spoke to her. No one looked at her. No one reacted to the fact that a woman was standing completely still at the back of their office. Maybe it is a poster. That is what I told myself. Maybe it is not a person at all. Maybe the angle is strange from my window. Maybe there is some tall advertisement or a cardboard figure against the back wall, and my brain is turning it into a woman. That would explain why nobody reacts. It would also explain why she does not move. But a poster should not feel like it is watching me. I kept checking throughout the day. Each time she was still there. Same place. Same white dress. Same long black hair. The people in the bank kept doing their jobs around her like she was part of the furniture. By evening, I closed my curtains. I told myself I was being stupid. I told myself I was lonely, bored, and letting my mind play games. I told myself no sane adult gets frightened by a woman standing in an office across the street. Still, when I went to bed, I kept thinking about her. The next morning, the bank was closed. It always closes on Sunday, so the office upstairs should have been empty. I opened the curtains expecting to see dark windows, empty desks, maybe the reflection of the sky. She was still there, but she was closer to the window. Not much closer, just enough for me to notice. Yesterday, she had been near the back of the office. Today, she was somewhere near the middle, still standing, still facing forward, still wearing that white dress. Her hair hung down in long black sheets around her face and shoulders. I could not see her features clearly from this distance, but I could feel the direction of her attention. She was looking across the street, at me. I stepped back from the window so quickly I nearly tripped over the edge of the rug. I tried to laugh at myself. I said out loud that it was probably some kind of trick. Maybe the bank had security shutters inside and the light was making a reflection. Maybe someone had left a cardboard cutout in there and I was just seeing it from a different angle. Maybe she only looked closer because the office was darker. But I did not believe any of that. I searched the flat for my binoculars, but I could not find them. I know I have a pair somewhere. I used them last year when there were builders on the roof opposite, and I wanted to check what they were doing. I tore through drawers, cupboards, and boxes, but they were gone. I wished I could see her better. Then I hated myself for wishing that. I spent most of Sunday trying not to look, but I kept going back to the window. Every time, she was there. She did not move. The bank stayed closed. No cleaners came, no guards, no one, just the woman. By Monday morning, I had barely slept. When the bank opened again, I watched the upstairs office like a man waiting for proof that he was not mad. Staff came in. Lights turned on. Computers woke up. People moved around with their usual papers, mugs, and tired expressions, and the woman was closer. She was almost at the window now. I stood in my living room with both hands pressed against the glass, staring until my eyes hurt. It could not be real. It simply could not. A woman had been standing in that office for 3 days, moving only when nobody seemed to be watching, and the workers still ignored her. Was she a ghost? Was I losing my mind? I do not like writing that. I know how it sounds. I know people hear words like ghost and immediately stop taking you seriously. I have had problems before. I have been depressed. I have taken medication. I know what people think when someone like me says they are seeing things. But I also know what I saw. I decided I would go to the bank and ask. It felt better to do something than to stand there watching. I put on my coat and crossed the street. My hands were shaking by the time I reached the bank doors. Inside, everything looked painfully normal. People stood in line. Machines beeped. A security guard watched the front. A woman at the counter smiled and asked if she could help me. I asked to speak to the manager. I must have looked strange because she hesitated before calling someone. A few minutes later, a man in a gray suit came out. He was polite at first, but that changed when I told him why I was there. I asked him about the woman in the upstairs office. His face went blank. "What woman?" he asked. "The woman in the white dress," I said. "Long black hair. She's been standing in your upstairs office for days." He looked at me like he was trying to decide whether I was dangerous. "There is no woman like that in our office," he said. "Yes, there is," I told him. "I can see her from my flat." He asked where I lived. I pointed across the street. That made his expression colder. He told me there was nobody upstairs except bank staff and customers with appointments. He told me no one had been standing in the office. He said if I kept making staff uncomfortable, he would call the police. I wanted to shout. I wanted to drag him outside and make him look up at the window. But I could see people nearby turning to stare, and suddenly I felt embarrassed and angry and frightened all at once. So I left. When I got back to my flat, she was still there. On Tuesday, she was right at the window. I opened my curtains and nearly screamed. She stood so close to the glass that I could see her better than ever before. Her skin was white, not pale like someone who needed sunlight. White like paper. White like milk. White like something that had never had blood under its skin. Her dress was plain and long, hanging straight down as if there were no body inside it. Her black hair covered most of her face, but I could see enough to know that she was facing me. I could not look at her for long. I shut the curtains and leaned against the wall, shaking. My heart beat so fast that I thought I might pass out. I tried to make myself breathe slowly, but every breath felt thin. What happens when she cannot get any closer to the bank window? That question stayed in my head all day. I did not go out. I did not answer calls. I barely ate. I sat on the sofa with the curtains closed, listening to the normal sounds of the building around me. Doors opening, footsteps in the hall, someone laughing downstairs, a dog barking somewhere outside. Normal sounds, human sounds. But behind them, I kept imagining the bank window. I kept imagining her pressed against it, waiting. By Wednesday, she had left the bank. At first, I thought she was gone. I opened the curtains just a little and looked toward the upstairs office. Empty, no white dress, no black hair, no still figure. For 1 second, relief flooded through me so strongly that I almost laughed. Then I looked down. She was in the street. She stood outside the bank, on the pavement, facing my apartment block. Not looking up at me, not yet, just facing straight ahead toward the wall beneath my window. Her arms hung at her sides. People walked around her. That was almost worse than if they had screamed. They moved around her like water flowing around a stone. A man stepped aside without looking. A woman with shopping bags shifted her path just enough to avoid bumping into her. 2 teenagers passed close by and did not react. No one stared. No one pointed. No one stopped. It was like they knew something was there, but could not see it, or would not see it. I do not know what made me go downstairs. Maybe I wanted proof. Maybe I thought if I got close enough, I would see wires, makeup, a camera crew, anything that would make it a prank. Maybe some part of me thought she needed help. That sounds stupid now, but at the time I kept thinking, what if she is trapped? What if she is not trying to scare me? What if she is asking for something? I put on shoes and left my flat. The stairwell smelled of old paint and damp concrete. Each step down felt heavier than the last. By the time I reached the building entrance, my hands were sweating. She was still there across the street. I stepped outside. The air was cold. Cars passed between us. People walked by. Nobody looked at me. Nobody looked at her. I crossed halfway. Then she moved. It was the first time I had seen her move. Her head lifted toward me. Both of her arms rose, slowly, straight out in front of her. Her hands opened. She reached for me. There was nothing fast about it at first, but the moment her arms moved, I felt something inside me collapse. I knew with absolute certainty that if she touched me, something terrible would happen. Then, she took 1 step toward me. I ran. I ran back across the street so fast a car horn blared behind me. I did not stop. I slammed through the building door and ran up the stairs, nearly falling twice. When I reached my flat, I locked the door and put the chain on with shaking hands. Then I looked out. She was staring at me now. not at the wall, at me. She stood in the street with both arms stretched toward my window. Her face was still mostly hidden by her hair, but I knew she was looking at me. I spent Wednesday night on the sofa with all the lights on. On Thursday, I could not bring myself to open the curtains. I was exhausted. I had barely slept for days. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her arms reaching toward me. I saw the white dress in the road. I saw people walking around her like she was part of the street. At night, she looked even worse. I know because, eventually, I looked. I could not help it. Fear can make you avoid something, but it can also pull you toward it. It makes you check the locked door again and again. It makes you look out the window even when you know you should not. She was still there. In the dark, her skin and dress looked brighter than everything around her. She did not glow exactly. There was no light coming from her. But the whiteness of her made the night around her look deeper. She stood there with her arms out, facing my window. I called Peter. He is one of the few people I trust. I tried to explain what was happening, but the more I spoke, the worse it sounded. He went quiet. Then he asked if I was off my meds. I got angry and hung up. Maybe he did not deserve that. Maybe he was only worried. But hearing that question felt like being pushed into a hole. It made me feel completely alone. If I said what I was seeing, people would think I was ill. If I stayed quiet, then I had to face her by myself. Later that afternoon, I looked again. She was closer. She was in the middle of the road now. Cars should have hit her. Drivers should have swerved. Someone should have screamed. But the cars passed as if she was not there, or as if the road itself bent around her. She stood between the lanes, arms stretched out toward me. I became too scared to leave the flat. What if she ran at me? What if she only moved when I came close? What if she was waiting for me to open the door? I pushed furniture against the entrance that night. Not heavy furniture, because I do not have much, but enough to make me feel slightly safer. A chair, a small table, a box of books. I knew it was ridiculous. If she could stand in a bank for days without anyone seeing her, a chair would not stop her. But I needed to do something. On Friday morning, she was gone. I opened the curtains carefully, expecting to see her in the road. Nothing. The street was normal. Cars moved. People walked. The bank opened. No white dress. No black hair. No outstretched arms. I checked the pavement. Nothing. I leaned out the window and looked down, expecting to see her directly below me. Still nothing. She was gone. I nearly cried with relief. For the first time in days, my flat felt like mine again. The air seemed lighter. My body felt weak, like I had just recovered from a fever. I laughed out loud. I actually laughed. It sounded strange in the empty living room. Maybe it had been a prank, a sick prank, a cruel one. Maybe someone at the bank had set something up. Maybe there was a projector, or a mannequin, or some art installation that nobody wanted to admit to. I was angry now that I was no longer terrified. I decided to write a complaint to the bank. I sat down and started writing everything out. Then I thought I should post it straight away. I wanted to get out while it was daylight, prove to myself that the world was normal again. I grabbed the envelope and opened my flat door. That was when I saw her. She was on the stairs, not outside, not across the street, inside my building. She stood at the bottom of the stairwell, near the front entrance, facing upward. Her arms were stretched toward me. I made a sound that did not feel human and slammed my door shut. I locked it. I put the chain on. I pushed the chair and table back against it. She had not gone. She had moved closer. I tried calling Peter again. The phone would not work. No signal. I tried the landline. Dead. I tried shouting out the window to people walking below. Nobody heard me. A man looked up once, but his eyes passed over me like I was not there. That was when the worst thought came. What if she was not only invisible to them? What if I was becoming invisible too? What if whatever she was doing had already started pulling me out of the world? I screamed until my throat hurt. Nobody came. I do not know how much I slept that night. Maybe none. Maybe I passed out for a few minutes at a time. Every sound in the building made me flinch. Pipes, footsteps, the lift, a door closing somewhere below. Each noise made me picture her climbing higher, one step at a time, arms still reaching. By Saturday, she was inside my flat. I do not know how she got in. The door was locked. The chain was still on. The furniture was still pushed against it. But when I came out of the bedroom, she was standing in the hallway. I froze. She stood between me and the bathroom. That sounds like such a stupid detail, but it is one of the things that broke me. I could not even go to the toilet. I could not move past her. I could not get water from the kitchen without going near her. I was trapped in my own home by something that should not exist. Her white dress brushed the floor. Her black hair hung over her face. Her arms were stretched toward me, but she did not move. She only waited. I backed into the bedroom and shut the door. I cried for a long time. I prayed, too. I have not prayed properly in years, but I prayed then. I asked God, Jesus, anyone listening, to help me, to make her go away, to wake me up, to prove this was only a nightmare. No answer came. The flat stayed silent. Every time I opened the bedroom door, even a crack, she was there in the hall. By Sunday, she was in the living room. I woke on the floor, though I do not remember lying down. My mouth was dry. My stomach hurt. The flat smelled terrible. I had been too scared to leave the corner for too long. I do not want to write about that part, but I think I have to, because it proves how afraid I was. I was sitting in my own mess like an animal, unable to move, unable to think properly. She stood by the living room door, arms out, staring. She did not breathe. She did not blink. She did not move. But somehow, every time I looked away and looked back, she seemed closer. I kept telling myself she did not exist. She does not breathe. She does not move. She does not exist. She does not exist. Nothing is real. Maybe I am not real either. That thought felt comforting for a second. If I was not real, then she could not hurt me. If this was only madness, then maybe some doctor somewhere could pull me out of it. Maybe I was already in a hospital bed. Maybe Peter was sitting beside me. Maybe none of this was happening. Then I looked up. She was right in front of me. Her hands were inches from my face. I could not move. Her hair shifted even though there was no wind. For the first time, I saw her mouth. It was open, not wide, just slightly open, like she was about to whisper. I tried to write one last word. I do not know what I meant to write. Please, this, think, maybe help. The pen slipped in my hand. And that is where Paul's diary ended. His real name was not Paul, but I am not going to share it. I was the friend he called. I was the one who asked if he was taking his medication, and I have not forgiven myself for that. At the time, I thought I was helping. He had struggled with depression before. He had bad weeks. He could spiral when he was isolated. when he called me talking about a woman in a bank who no one else could see. I reacted like anyone would. I asked the obvious question. I wish I had not. After that last call, he stopped answering his phone. I tried ringing him several times over the next day. No answer. I told myself he was angry with me, and honestly, he had every right to be. But something felt wrong. I could not stop thinking about how scared he had sounded. Eventually, I went to his apartment. The building looked normal from outside. The bank across the street looked normal, too. I remember standing there for a moment, staring at the upstairs office. I saw desks, chairs, computers, nothing else. No woman in white. That should have made me feel better. It did not. When I got inside the building, the stairs were quiet. Too quiet. His door was locked, but the caretaker helped open it after I made enough noise and threatened to call the police. The smell hit us first. We found him in the living room. He was backed into the corner, sitting in a puddle of his own waste. His face was twisted in terror. One hand was clenched around the diary you just read. His eyes were open, staring at the room in front of him. There was nothing there. No woman. No marks on the floor. No broken windows. No signs that anyone else had entered. The official cause was a heart attack. He was 28 years old. Everyone keeps telling me it was tragic, but simple. A mental health crisis. Panic, stress, a weak heart no one knew about. They say he scared himself to death. Maybe they are right. But I do not think Paul was crazy. I have read his diary again and again. I have tried to find the moment where it becomes nonsense, where his fear turns into clear delusion, but it does not read that way to me. It reads like a man watching something slowly cross the distance between his world and his body. I do not know why I am posting this. Maybe because I need someone else to see it. Maybe because if I keep it to myself, I will start to feel like I am carrying part of what killed him. Has anyone else experienced anything like this? A woman in white, long black hair, standing still, getting closer every day, ignored by everyone around her. I just want to know what happened to my friend. And I need to know something else too, because last night I looked out of my own living room window. Across the street, in the dark glass of the closed bank, I thought I saw a pale shape standing at the back of the upstairs office. Story 2. My girlfriend has always been a creative person. That was one of the first things I noticed about her when we started talking. Some people talk about movies, work, food, or whatever drama is happening in their lives. With her, the conversation always seemed to find its way back to art. At first, I liked that about her. No, I more than liked it. I admired it. There was something attractive about the way her eyes would light up when she talked about sketching, drawing, painting, or some artist she had been studying online. She could talk for 20 minutes about how shadows changed the feeling of a face, or how the right shade of blue could make a painting feel lonely. I did not always understand what she meant, but I liked listening to her. I liked that she had something that belonged to her completely, something she loved even when no one else was watching. I have never been that kind of person. I have hobbies, sure, but not passions. I watch shows. I play games sometimes. I scroll on my phone too much. I work, come home, eat, sleep, and do it again. She was different. She had notebooks full of sketches and drawers full of pencils, brushes, cheap paints, expensive paints, and tools I did not even know the names of. She would stop in the middle of a walk to look at the color of the sky. She would stare at old buildings because she liked the shapes of the windows. She saw things I never would have noticed. When we first started dating, she did not show me much of her work. She talked about it constantly, but the actual drawings and paintings stayed hidden. At first, I thought that was strange. Then I realized she was just nervous. Her art mattered to her, and showing it to someone was not the same as showing a random picture on a phone. It was personal. It was like letting someone look directly at the inside of her head. I tried to be patient. I told her she could show me whenever she was ready. I told her I would love to see it, and I meant that. I really did. When she finally did show me, I was excited. I remember sitting beside her on the couch while she opened one of her sketchbooks. She held it close to her chest for a moment before handing it over, like she was giving me something fragile. I smiled and told her I was sure it was great. Then I looked down. I love her more than anything in the world, but I have to be honest. It was not good. I hate even saying that, but it is true. Her shading was messy. The dark parts were too dark, and the light parts looked unfinished. Her lines were crooked and uncertain, like her hand kept changing its mind halfway through. The portraits were the worst part. Some of them looked almost like stick figures with hair. The faces were uneven. The eyes did not match. The noses sat in strange places. The mouths looked like cuts. I tried not to show what I was thinking. I really did. I smiled. I nodded. I said the kinds of things a boyfriend is supposed to say. That's really interesting. I like this one. You can tell you worked hard on it. But I can only pretend so much. She kept looking at my face instead of the sketchbook. I think she knew I was holding back. She knew I was not reacting the way she wanted me to react. Maybe I should have lied better. Maybe I should have told her every page was amazing. But I have always believed that if you love someone, you should help them improve. You should not just smile while they walk in the wrong direction. That is what I told myself, at the time anyway, so I started giving advice. Small advice at first. Gentle little comments. I would point out that one line seemed a little off, or that the eyes in a portrait were different sizes, or that a shadow did not look natural. I always tried to say it kindly. I never wanted to hurt her. I just wanted her to see what I could see. The problem was, every time I offered advice, she got defensive. She would close the sketchbook a little too fast. Her face would go stiff. Her voice would become flat. I know, she would say. Or, that's just my style. Or, you don't really get what I'm going for. And that was frustrating, because I wanted her to succeed. Of course I did. Why would I not want that? I wanted her to become the artist she dreamed of being. I wanted her to prove people wrong. I wanted her to have something big happen for her, something that made all those hours worth it. But in order to succeed, she had to listen. I am not an artist. I know that. I cannot draw anything better than a basic house or a bad dog, but you do not have to be a professional chef to know when food is burned. You do not have to be a singer to hear when someone is off key. Even as just an ordinary guy, I could still see where she was falling short. So I kept nudging her. I thought I was being helpful. I thought I was being honest. I tried to keep my voice soft and my words careful. I would say things like, maybe you could practice hands more, or the face might look better if the jaw was a little less sharp, or the colors feel kind of flat here. But every comment seemed to push her further away. At first, she just stopped showing me as much. Then she stopped talking about art as much. Then she started going quiet in general. That was the part I did not expect. Art had been her main talking point. It was the thing she always came back to. Without it, there was this empty space between us. We still lived together, still ate dinner together, still slept in the same bed, but it felt like something important had been removed from the relationship. Conversations became shorter. There were long silences where we both sat on opposite ends of the couch, scrolling on our phones and pretending everything was fine. I started feeling like an asshole. I had not meant to take anything from her. I had not meant to make her feel ashamed. I only wanted to help. But every time I tried to explain that, she just looked at me with the same blank expression. "I'm just trying to help you," I told her once. "I know you care about this, and I want you to get better." She stared at me for a few seconds. Then she said, "I'll try to get better for you." I did not like the way she said it. It was not angry. It was not sad. It was calm, too calm, like the words had been placed in her mouth by someone else. I told her she did not have to do it for me. I told her I wanted her to do it for herself. She only nodded. After that, I barely saw her work on anything. I never saw her sketching at the kitchen table anymore. I never saw her painting in the spare room. I never saw pencils scattered near the couch or paint stains on her fingers. It was like the creative part of her had gone silent. The tension between us grew worse. We did not even argue much. Sometimes I wished we would. Arguing at least would have meant something was still moving between us. Instead, we just drifted through the apartment, careful around each other, polite in a way that felt fake. Then, at the worst point of that distance, she told me she had signed up for art classes. I thought I would feel relieved. I should have been happy, right? She was taking steps. She was learning. She was doing exactly what I had encouraged her to do. But she did not seem excited. She did not talk about the teacher with enthusiasm. She did not come home with that bright look in her eyes. She did not tell me about all the things she hoped to learn. She simply said she had joined a class and would be gone 3 nights a week, from 5 in the evening until 10 at night. The way she said it made it sound like a punishment, like she was not doing it because she loved art, but because she wanted to prove me wrong, or maybe because I had made her feel defeated. For the first month, she went to the classes and came home quiet. She would walk in, hang up her coat, say hello, and then go shower or go straight to bed. I would ask how class went, and she would say, "Fine, that was it. No details, no excitement, no complaints." Then she started bringing home paintings. She never showed them to me directly. That was important. She did not come into the room smiling and ask what I thought. She did not place a canvas in front of me and wait for my reaction. She simply started hanging them around the house. The first one appeared in the kitchen. I came home from work and saw it on the wall near the table. It was a mountain range at sunset. The colors were warm and soft, and the shadows actually made sense. The lines were cleaner than anything I had seen from her before. The mountains looked like mountains. The sky had depth. The whole thing had a mood to it. I stood there staring at it longer than I expected. Then another showed up in the living room. An ocean horizon, dark water under a pale sky. Then a forest scene appeared near the hallway. Then another landscape. Then another. She was improving. There was no denying it. Her lines became straighter. Her shading became smoother. Her colors started to work together. For the first time, her paintings made me feel something without me having to force it. I did not have to fake a smile and say, "That's so good, honey. I actually liked them." I told her that. She only gave me a small smile and said, "Thanks. I wanted more than that. I wanted her to be proud. I wanted us to talk about art again, like before. I wanted to ask questions and hear her thoughts. But she stayed quiet. The paintings kept coming. After the landscapes, she started painting buildings, old castles with high towers, mansions with dark windows and wide front steps, small shacks standing alone in fields, sheds with peeling paint, barns leaning slightly to one side. Each one was more detailed than the last. She had started paying attention to texture. Wood looked like wood. Stone looked cold. Glass reflected light. I remember thinking the classes were really helping. Then she moved on to people. That was where the improvement became almost shocking. The first portrait I noticed was of her mother. It was hanging near the hallway, and at first I thought it was based on a photograph. The expression was perfect, a little tired, a little warm, with her mouth almost smiling. Then came a portrait of her father. Then a painting of her art teacher from class. I knew it was him because she had mentioned his name before and once showed me a picture from the class website. The faces were detailed. Not perfect, but close enough to make me pause. The eyes had life. The skin had texture. The mouths looked soft and real. She had proved me wrong. I knew that. And honestly, I was happy to be wrong. She had improved more than I thought possible in such a short amount of time. Whatever she was learning in those classes was working. I wish that had been enough for her. I wish she had stopped there, satisfied with the progress she had made. I wish we could have gone back to normal. I wish I could have told her I was proud of her, and she could have believed me. But it did not stop. The first painting of me appeared on a weekday. I came home from work tired and hungry, already thinking about what to make for dinner. I walked into the living room, and there it was, hanging among the other canvases. At first, I recognized my face. Then I understood what I was looking at. The painting showed me disassembled. That is the only word I can use for it. My head was in one part of the canvas, turned at an angle, eyes half open. My arms and legs were spread across the painting in different places, separated from my body. My torso was opened in a way that made my stomach twist. The detail was awful. Not awful as in bad art. Awful because it was too good. There were strings of muscle, wet red shadows, torn skin, and dark pools beneath the pieces of me. It was the most gruesome thing I had ever seen her paint. For a moment, I could not breathe. It was me, not some random person, not a horror study. Me, my face, my hair, my old work shirt, even the small scar near my chin from when I fell as a kid. I heard her humming in the bedroom. The sound was soft and relaxed. That somehow made it worse. I walked toward the bedroom slowly. The door was open. She was sitting on the bed with her sketchbook in her lap, drawing fast. Her pencil moved wildly across the page. She did not look up when I entered. "Honey," I said quietly. She kept humming. "Why did you do that painting of me?" Her pencil did not stop. She said, still looking down, just how I was feeling today. Then she continued scribbling. I stood there, waiting for her to laugh or explain or tell me it was just practice. She did none of those things. I wanted to push the issue, but something about the way she sat there made me stop. Her face was calm, too calm. Her eyes followed the pencil like nothing else in the world existed. So I backed away. In the weeks that followed, more paintings appeared around the house. All of them were of me. All of them showed me dead. Not just dead either, taken apart, broken down, rebuilt into something else. In one painting, my body was held together by wires, hanging from a ceiling like some kind of puppet. My head drooped forward, and thin metal lines ran through my arms, legs, and ribs. In another, I had been turned into a scarecrow. My limbs were tied to wooden poles in a field, my mouth stitched into a smile while black birds gathered around me. Another showed pieces of me hanging from a Christmas tree like ornaments, fingers tied with ribbon, an eye inside a glass ball, a strip of skin draped like tinsel. I tried not to look at them, but they were everywhere. The kitchen, the living room, the hallway. Even the bathroom had one. She never seemed angry when she hung them up. That was what made it so unsettling. If she had screamed at me, if she had thrown things, if she had said she hated me, maybe I would have understood. But she did not act angry. She acted distant, peaceful, almost, like the paintings comforted her. That hurt more than I can explain. It felt like she had found a private world where I existed only as material, not as her boyfriend, not as a person, not as someone she loved, just shapes, pieces, colors, and designs. And the obsession was always the same. Dismemberment, every painting found a new way to take me apart. In some, my limbs were arranged neatly, almost carefully, like parts laid out on a table. In others, they were stretched, pinned, tied, or displayed. Sometimes the images were wild and bloody. Other times they were clean, almost beautiful, and those were somehow worse. At this point, there are at least a dozen of them, maybe more. I stopped counting after 12. But the paintings are not the part that scares me the most. What scares me is what has been happening while I sleep. The first time, I woke up and noticed a line around my wrist. It was thin and dark, drawn in black marker or charcoal. It went all the way around, almost perfectly even, like someone had carefully traced where my hand should be separated from my arm. I stared at it for a long time, half asleep, trying to understand what I was seeing. I washed it off in the sink and told myself maybe I had brushed against something. Then it happened again. A line around my other wrist, then around my ankle, then both ankles. Then, one morning, I woke up with a dark outline drawn around the base of my neck. That was when I panicked. I stood in the bathroom mirror, turning my head slowly, looking at the line as it curved across my skin. It was not messy. It was not random. It was careful, measured, like a guide, like she was figuring out where to cut. I confronted her that morning. She was in the kitchen, making coffee. She looked tired but calm. "Did you draw on me last night?" I asked. She looked at me like she did not understand. "What?" I pointed to my neck. "This? Did you do this?" She stared at the line for a second and shook her head. No. Her voice had no fear in it. No surprise either. That bothered me. "Who else could it have been?" I asked. She shrugged. "I don't know. You don't know?" "No." Then she turned back to her coffee. The next few nights, I tried to stay awake. I told myself I would catch her. I drank coffee late into the evening and kept the lights on. I sat in bed with my phone in my hand, pretending to scroll while watching her from the corner of my eye. She slept peacefully. At least I thought she did. But I always fell asleep eventually. And each time I woke up with new lines around my elbows, around my knees, down the center of my chest, across my stomach. around my shoulders. Once, I found small dotted marks along my ribs, like she had changed her mind about the placement and made notes. I asked her again. She denied it again, every time. She looked at me with that blank face and said she had no idea what I was talking about. Sometimes she almost seemed bored by the question. Other times she looked faintly disappointed, like I was ruining something by bringing it up. I started locking the bedroom door. The lines still appeared. I started sleeping on the couch. The lines still appeared. I even tried sleeping in a long-sleeved shirt and sweatpants, thinking maybe it would be harder for her to draw on me without waking me. The next morning, the clothes were still on, but the marks were underneath them, drawn directly on my skin. I do not know how she did it. I do not know how I did not wake up. I do not know if she is drugging me, or if I am sleeping deeper than I think, or if something else is happening. I know how that sounds. I know it sounds crazy. But I am living in a house filled with paintings of my own body cut apart, and every morning I find new outlines on me, like I am being prepared for her next project. She still goes to class 3 nights a week. She still comes home quiet. She still brings new work inside. Sometimes I hear her humming in the middle of the night. Not loudly, just soft enough to wake me, then stop before I fully open my eyes. Sometimes I smell paint before I see the canvas. Sometimes I hear the scratch of pencil on paper from the other room, fast and sharp, like an insect moving inside the walls. The worst part is that her art really is good now. That sounds like a stupid thing to care about, but it is true. She became the artist she always wanted to be, the artist I told her she could be if she listened, if she practiced, if she learned. Her work is powerful now. Disturbing, yes, but powerful. Anyone would see it. Anyone would know she had talent. I should be proud. Instead, I am afraid to close my eyes. Last night, I woke up at around 3 in the morning with the bedroom light on. She was standing beside the bed. She had a sketchbook in one hand and a pencil in the other. She was staring down at my left arm, not at my face. Her head was tilted slightly, and her lips were moving like she was counting silently. I froze. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she noticed I was awake. She smiled at me. Not a warm smile, not a loving smile, a small, patient smile. "You moved," she whispered. I sat up fast and pulled the blanket over myself like that would protect me. "What are you doing?" I asked. She looked down at the sketchbook, then back at my arm. "Trying to get it right." My throat went dry. "Get what right?" She did not answer. She closed the sketchbook and walked out of the room. This morning, I found another outline around my upper arm, a clean black circle, just below the shoulder. I asked her one more time if she was drawing on me. She said no. She always says no. But who else could it be? Does she think I will believe I am doing this to myself in my sleep? Does she think I will believe the marks just appear on their own? Does she think I will keep living surrounded by paintings of my death until one day I wake up and become one of them? I do not know what to do anymore. I keep thinking back to the beginning, when she was shy about showing me her sketchbook, when she loved art in a sweet, harmless way, when all I wanted was for her to improve. I wanted her to be confident. I wanted her to become the artist I knew she could be. And now, she has. That is what scares me most, Because whatever she is planning, whatever design she keeps drawing around my body, I think this is the first time in our entire relationship that she knows exactly what she is doing. Story 3. I only understood it a few moments ago. Nothing has happened. That is the part that frightens me most. There has been no loud noise, no scream, no shadow moving behind me, no hand reaching out from under the desk, no face pressed against the glass, nothing I can point to and say, yes, that is wrong. Yes, that is the thing that should not be here. And still, everything feels wrong. Not broken. Not exactly changed, just slightly off, as if the whole room has been moved 1 inch to the left while I was not paying attention. The air feels normal when I breathe it, but something inside my chest does not trust it. The light is soft and steady, but it seems to fall in the wrong way. The silence is complete, but it is not empty. It feels full of waiting. I look down at the pen in my hand. It is red. I know it is red because I can see it clearly. The plastic barrel, the cap, the small smear of ink near the tip. It is the same red it was a moment ago. There is nothing strange about it in a way I can explain. But the color does not match my memory of red. That is the problem. My eyes tell me one thing. My mind answers with another. I remember red as warm, sharp, bright, almost angry. This red is not that. This red looks like it is pretending. It looks like someone described red to a person who had never seen it, and that person made the closest version they could. I blink several times, hoping the color will settle into itself. It does not. I put the pen down, then pick it up again. My fingers know its weight. The smooth body presses against my skin. It feels real enough, but that only makes the wrongness worse. A dream would be easier. A nightmare would have mercy. In a nightmare, things are allowed to be wrong. Here, everything insists it is normal. I stand up too quickly, and the chair scrapes back behind me. The sound makes me flinch. It is an ordinary sound, wood or metal against the floor, yet it lands in the room like a warning. I turn and look at the chair as if it might move by itself. It does not. It only waits there, slightly crooked, with its small wheels pointed in different directions. I begin to pace. I do not know why. Maybe because standing still feels dangerous. Maybe because movement gives me something to count. 1 step, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I reach the wall and turn. 1 step, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The room is small, around 6 steps by 8, depending on how I count and how wide each step is. It might be a study. It might be a cell. Those two things feel closer to each other than they should. Books line all 4 walls. Their shelves reach from floor to ceiling, packed tight with volumes of different sizes. Some have leather covers. Some have cloth spines. Some are plain and brown and old enough that their titles have faded. Others look new, almost untouched. The room should smell like paper, dust, and wood. It does, but there is another smell beneath it. Something dry and cold, like a place closed for a very long time. I stop at the window. Outside, it is dark. Snow falls through the night in thick white flakes. The ground is already covered. The world beyond the glass is not a road, a garden, or a city. It is only white. A wide, flat stretch of snow disappearing into darkness. The night rests on top of it like a heavy animal. I do not know where I am. I do not know how high the window is from the ground. I do not know if this room is part of a house, a tower, a hospital, a prison, or something that has no name. I cannot see any lights in the distance. No houses, no stars, no moon, only snow, falling and falling. And suddenly, with a certainty so strong it hurts, I know two things. It has always been snowing. It will never stop. The thought strikes me through the bones. It does not arrive like an idea. It arrives like a bell being hit inside my body. The vibration travels through my ribs, my hands, my teeth. I shiver, though the room is warm. I am not standing outside in that endless cold, but my body does not seem to know that. My skin tightens, my shoulders hunch, my breath catches as if I have swallowed winter. I step back from the window. The glass reflects the room behind me in faint shadows. Books, desk, chair, papers, the red pen, and me. I do not look directly at my reflection yet. I am afraid to. Instead, I turn toward the shelves. I run my eyes across the books, trying to find one I recognize. I do not remember reading any of them. I do not remember buying them, borrowing them, arranging them, dusting them, or even touching them before this moment. And yet, I know what they contain. That book near the corner, the one with the cracked green spine, begins with a man walking into a field and ends with his daughter speaking in a language no one taught her. The thick blue one on the second shelf is about rivers, but not rivers of water. The narrow black volume beside it has no title on the cover, but page 47 describes the taste of ash after a house fire. The red book on the upper shelf has a folded page near the end. I know the fold is there, even though I cannot see it from here. I could recite lines from them. I know this without wanting to know it. I have never read them, but they are inside me anyway. That makes my stomach twist. Then I notice the door. It is directly to my right. It was not there a moment ago. I know it was not there, because when I first stood up, that wall was covered with books. A complete wall. No gap, no frame, no handle. Now there is a doorway with a wooden door set into it, plain and pale, with a brass knob that catches the light. Nothing about it looks strange. That is what makes it horrible. It has entered the room like it has always belonged there. I stare at the knob. I know that if I reach for it, if I close my fingers around the brass and turn it, something will begin on the other side before I pull the door open. Not wait, not appear after I look. Begin as if my decision would give it permission to exist. As if the world behind that door is not there yet, but is ready to form the moment I ask for it. My hand twitches. I pull it back against my chest. No, I am not opening it. I am not creating whatever waits there. The word creating frightens me so badly that I step away from the door at once. I raise one hand to my face, needing to touch something that proves I am here. My fingers brush my cheek and I freeze. There is hair. A beard. Short, rough, and unfamiliar. It scratches against my fingertips. I move my hand slowly along my jaw. The beard continues there. It is real. I can feel the grain of it, the way it grows in different directions near the chin. I do not remember having a beard. I do not remember my face at all, and that is worse. A sudden need rises in me. I need to see what I look like. I turn back toward the window, because there is no mirror in the room. The glass is dark enough to reflect me now. Snow moves behind the reflection like white insects crawling across the night. At first, I see only a shape. Then the shape becomes a man. He is thin, too thin. His cheeks are hollow, his face long and tired, his skin stretched over bones that look sharper than they should. The beard is there, dark and rough along the jaw. His mouth is narrow. His forehead has lines I do not remember earning, but it is the eyes that make me step back. They are unfinished. I do not mean blind. I do not mean empty exactly. They are eyes, but they look like someone stopped making them before the work was done. They hold the shape of eyes without the full meaning of sight. They are holes that have learned to pretend. The man in the window stares at me. He is supposed to be me. He is not me. He is a face that has been lent to me. The moment that thought comes, I know it is true. This body is borrowed. This face is borrowed. I look down at my hands and turn them over. They are clean, smooth, and dry. The nails are neat. Too neat. Well-shaped, well-kept, without cuts or dirt or broken edges. These hands have been lent to me too, because another memory rises up from somewhere deep below the surface. It comes from a place inside me that feels like the bottom of a well. A voice, or maybe not a voice, calls upward from there. It brings the feeling of teeth against fingernails, the sharp pinch at the corner, the pull, the small tearing pain when a nail splits unevenly, the rough edge left behind, catching on fabric, the habit of spitting out the broken pieces like shells, pumpkin seed shells, not sunflower seeds, not pistachios, pumpkin seeds. The detail is so specific that it hurts. I do not know my own name, but I know the dry, flat feeling of pumpkin seed shells on my tongue. I know the shape of the torn nail between my teeth. I know that my hands should not be this smooth. I close them into fists. The room seems to lean closer. I could call out. That thought comes suddenly. I could open my mouth and say a name. I do not know the name yet, but I feel the space where it might be. A woman, perhaps, or something like a woman. She is not here now, but if I speak her into this room, she may become here. She may be caught in this place with me, pinned to it by my voice alone. The idea makes me afraid of my own mouth. I press my lips together. Words are dangerous here. I know that now. To speak is not only to make sound. To speak is to begin something, to give shape to the empty spaces, to call things out of the dark and force them to exist. Every object in this room feels like it began that way. The desk, the chair, the books, the paper, the door, the window, me, and everything that exists must one day fall apart. That thought opens beneath me like a trapdoor. To exist is to be destroyed slowly. The walls, the books, the papers, the pen, the body I am wearing, the face in the glass, all of it is already coming apart. Not fast enough to see. Not in flames, not in dust, not in some dramatic collapse. Molecule by molecule. Piece by piece. A rate too small to measure, yet impossible to stop. Everything is being unmade. The room is only a temporary agreement between parts that will eventually separate. The books will rot. The ink will fade. The paper will yellow and break. The chair will crack. My borrowed skin will loosen and split. My bones will dry. Even the snow outside, endless as it seems, must be made of something. And anything made of something can be taken apart. The only difference is time. Time is the one disease that reaches everything. I do not know where else it spreads. I do not know if there is a world outside this room or if the room itself is the whole of creation. But if there is anything beyond the snow, time is there too. Patient, quiet, always winning. I look out the window again. The man who is supposed to be me looks back. Snowflakes pass through his hollow eyes in the reflection, fat and white, slicing through the thick, cold air behind him. For one moment, I feel as if the snow is not outside the window, but inside his skull, filling him from within. I turn away too quickly. The room tilts. I return to the chair and sit down hard. The small wheels creak beneath me. I press my back against the chair and try to make myself flat, as if I can remove one dimension from my body, as if being less present might make me less real. It does not help. I feel too large for myself. Part of me is inside this body, but part of me is outside it too. I can feel my edges extending beyond my skin. My veins seem filled with hot wires. My bones ache with a purpose I do not understand. Something about this moment feels overfull, like a cup filled past the rim but refusing to spill. The desk waits in front of me. On it lies a manuscript, pages stacked in a careful pile. Some are covered in red marks, some are clean. The top page is dense with text, lines arranged in neat black rows. I do not remember writing it. I do not remember being given it. But I know I have been editing it. That is what I am here to do. The thought brings no comfort. I lower my eyes to the page. At first, the words seem to move. They squirm in place, bending and twisting while still pretending to be letters. Each line is trapped in a pattern, sentenced to order. The words mock me with meaning I almost understand. They hint at a secret behind the world, then hide it the moment I look too closely. It is like the universe is winking at me. Yes, it says, there is an answer. No, it says, you cannot have it. My tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. I peel it away slowly. It feels rough, too large, and dry. A scream begins somewhere deep in my stomach, hot and rising. I hold my teeth together to keep it caged. I do not know what would happen if I screamed here. I do not know what the room would do with that much sound. Maybe it would make something from it. Maybe the door would open. Maybe the snow would hear. So I do not scream. Instead, I read, letter by letter at first, then word by word. Slowly, the page begins to take me back into itself. Context rises around me like dark water. I sink into it because it is easier than fighting. The panic does not leave, but it becomes quieter. It moves to the edges of my mind, waiting there like an animal behind glass. The manuscript is about someone sitting in a room. No. I blink. It is not. Or maybe it is. The sentence I thought I saw is gone. The page now describes a hallway, a woman, a garden, a storm, a child holding something sharp, a man standing beside a frozen lake. Each time I try to hold the subject still, it shifts. But the errors remain, the wrong words, the crooked images, the tiny breaks in the pattern. Those I can see. Those are mine to fix. I feel a pull inside me, a force trying to throw me out of the chair and into every direction at once. Part of me wants to run to the door. Part wants to smash the window. Part wants to tear the books from the shelves and search for my name. Part wants to bite my borrowed nails until they become the hands I remember. But another part of me is tired. So tired. It knows this routine. It accepts it. I reach for the red pen. The color still looks wrong, but the weight of it is familiar now. I roll it between my thumb and index finger. I test its balance. I hold it above the page and force my gaze to steady. The room quiets. Or maybe I become small enough not to hear it. I read the line again. There, an imperfection. A word that should not be where it is. A phrase that leans slightly away from truth. A piece of the pattern out of place. I do not know how I know it is wrong. I simply know. I lower the pen and carve a red mark across the page. The ink appears with a soft scratch. Somewhere far away, something changes. I feel it more than hear it. A tiny correction in the dark. A door closing that had been open. A breath stopping before it became a voice. A shape returning to its proper place. Maybe something has been made right. Maybe I have only covered one wrong thing with another. It does not matter. There is another error below it. I mark that one too. Then another. And another. The work fills the space where fear was growing. The room still feels false. The snow still falls forever. The door still waits to my right with whatever unborn thing lies behind it. The books still hold knowledge I never earned. The face in the window still belongs to someone else. My hands are still too clean. My mouth still feels dangerous. But the manuscript is here. The red pen is here. The errors are here. That is enough. I continue editing because it is the only action that makes the world hold still. Each mark pins something down. Each correction pushes the room back into shape. Each red line says that at least one thing can still be noticed, judged, changed. Maybe I have been here forever. Maybe I was made only moments ago. Maybe every time I finish a page, another room appears, another door forms, another borrowed face looks back from another window. Maybe there are others like me, sitting in warm rooms while endless snow falls outside, editing pages that decide the shape of things they will never see. Maybe the woman I am afraid to call is real somewhere, safe because I have not spoken her name. Maybe I am the one being edited. The thought makes my hand pause. For 1 second, I see it clearly. A red line drawn through me, a correction in the margin, a note written by something patient and unseen. Wrong, revise, remove. My heart pounds so hard that the pen trembles between my fingers. Then the manuscript shifts beneath my gaze, and another imperfection appears. I mark it. The fear lowers its head. The chair creaks. The snow falls. The door remains closed. I keep reading. I keep finding mistakes. I keep cutting them with red. Somewhere distant, something is made right. Or maybe something wrong is only hidden better. I do not know anymore. I only know that I must continue. I continue because stopping feels like opening the door. I continue because speaking feels like creating another prisoner. I continue because the face in the glass is not mine, but it is the only face I have. I continue because the snow has always been falling. I continue because the pen is red, even if red is no longer red. I continue because the manuscript is waiting. And now, editing is the only thing that feels real. Story 4. I work as a gas station attendant, and even now, I remember every little thing that happened on the night my life was ruined. I have tried to forget it. I have tried to tell myself that maybe I had a breakdown, or maybe I dreamed part of it, or maybe I passed out before anything really happened. But none of that works anymore. Not after what I saw on the news. Not after the calls started coming in. Not after I saw my own face on the screen with the word wanted written underneath it in bright red letters. So I am writing this down while I still can. Maybe someone will believe me. Maybe no one will. I know how this sounds. If someone else told me this story a week ago, I would have laughed and called them crazy. I would have said they were drunk, high, sleep-deprived, or trying to get attention online. But I am not asking for attention. I am asking for a warning to exist somewhere. If you ever see a small child with adult teeth, do not talk to it. Do not smile at it. Do not let it speak to you. Do not let it repeat your words back to you. Just run. The night started like every other miserable night shift at the gas station. I was standing behind the register, staring at the clock on the wall and letting it torture me 1 minute at a time. Time moved so slowly in that place that it felt like someone had grabbed the hands of the clock and forced them to crawl. Every few seconds, I looked up, hoping an hour had passed, only to see that it had been maybe 2 minutes. The uniform made everything worse. I was wearing an XL-sized shirt that did not fit me right at all. It hung off me in some places and pulled strangely in others. The fabric was stiff from too many washes, and the collar kept rubbing against the side of my neck. Above my name tag was the big stupid smiley face logo the company used on everything. Under it were the words, "We bring happiness to your everyday needs." I hated that line more every time I read it. There was nothing happy about the job. The fluorescent lights made everyone look sick. The floor was always sticky no matter how often I mopped it. The coffee station smelled like burned beans and old milk. The bathroom always needed cleaning. The customers were either half asleep, angry, drunk, lonely, or in too much of a hurry to treat me like a person. But the job kept my bills paid. It kept food on my table. It kept my lights on. It also kept my nicotine addiction alive, which was probably not something to be proud of, but it was true. I had smoked long enough that the cigarette rack behind me felt less like store inventory and more like a wall of temptation. Every time I turned around, the packs stared back at me like little promises. I had black hair, which I usually kept tied up during my shift. That night it had been slipping loose from my bun, and I kept having to fix it. I was tired. My feet hurt. My back itched under the uniform shirt. My septum piercing felt slightly crooked, and I kept adjusting it without thinking. It was the kind of night where nothing should have happened. Then the bell above the door rang. A large man walked in, pushing the door open harder than he needed to. The little bell gave its tired metallic ring, and I looked up from the counter. He was heavy-set, with a huge sweat stain spreading across the back of his shirt, even though it was not especially hot outside. His face was red, and he moved like a man who had been driving too long and needed caffeine before he could survive the next stretch of road. I put on the smile I used for customers. It was not real. Most of them never are. It was the kind of smile you wear because your manager checks the cameras, and because people complain when you do not look cheerful enough while selling them lottery tickets and cigarettes at midnight. "Hi," I said, my voice bright and automatic. "How's it going?" He gave me a small nod, but did not answer. He walked past the snack aisle and made his way to the beverage section. I watched him grab a plastic cup, fill it with ice, and move to the coffee machine. He pressed the double espresso button with one thick finger. The machine came alive with a grinding sound. Coffee beans cracked and churned inside it. The milk heater hissed. Steam fogged the metal surface for a second. The smell of strong coffee spread through the store and mixed with the stale air, old hot dogs, and floor cleaner. The man glanced back at me. We made eye contact for 1 second. I gave him another polite smile. He looked away and watched the dark espresso pour over the ice in his cup. The hot liquid hit the ice and melted part of it instantly, sending up a small cloud of steam. The drink looked bitter and watery at the same time. When the machine clicked to show it was finished, the man turned and looked around the store. His eyes landed on the cigarettes behind my head. He stared at them with the serious look of someone trying to make an important life choice. I understood that look. I had worn it myself plenty of times. I decided to do my job before he had to ask. "Which brand of cigs are up to your liking, sir?" I said. I turned around toward the rack as I spoke. My fingers brushed my septum, piercing, and I scratched my back under the uniform with my other hand. I heard him shift at the coffee station. "A pack of golden marbs is fine, Peach," he said. I hated being called things like that, but I had learned not to react. Some people used pet names like they were breathing. Sweetheart, honey, peach, doll. Half the time they meant nothing by it, and the other half of the time they meant exactly what you thought they did. I reached for the golden Marlboros on the top shelf and pulled down a pack. The man came to the register and placed his iced double espresso on the counter. The cup was already sweating, drops of water sliding down the plastic. I scanned the cigarettes and rang up the drink. "That's $13 with tax, sir," I said. He rubbed the top of his head while searching through his pockets. He checked one pocket, then another, then finally pulled out a crumpled $20 bill. It looked like it had been forgotten in a pair of jeans through a full wash cycle. He held it out with a strange little smile. "Keep the change," he said. I thanked him, because that is what you do, even when the tip is not really a tip and the customer is already halfway out the door. He left with his cigarettes and midnight coffee, and the bell rang again as the door shut behind him. I went back to staring at the clock. That should have been the last interesting thing that happened that night. For a few minutes, the store was quiet. The coolers hummed. The lights buzzed overhead. Somewhere outside, a car passed on the road, its tires making a soft hiss against the pavement. I leaned on the counter and tried to stretch my shoulders without looking lazy on camera. Then the bell rang again. I looked up. A little girl had entered the gas station. She was short, maybe elementary school age. I am not great with guessing kids' ages, but she looked small enough that my first thought was that a parent had sent her inside to pay for gas. That happened sometimes. Parents like to teach their kids how to talk to cashiers or count change, and gas stations became little life lessons. She came straight toward the register. She had a crumpled bill in one hand. Her fingers were tight around it, like she was afraid it might vanish if she loosened her grip. Her hair was messy around her face, and she was sweating. A lot. Too much for a child walking in from the cool night air. At first, I thought she was nervous. Kids get nervous talking to strangers. I leaned against the counter and softened my face, trying to look less tired and less intimidating. I do not think I am a scary person, but to a kid, any adult behind a counter can feel like some kind of official. "Hi," I said with a small smile. This time, the smile was real. Or at least more real than the one I gave the man before her. The girl looked down at the floor. She mumbled a pump number. I glanced out through the front windows and saw a car at the pumps. A woman was sitting inside it, looking down at her phone. She looked like a tired mother, waiting patiently, while her child learned how to pay for gas. It all made sense. It was normal. I let myself relax. The little girl handed over the money. I took it, entered the pump number, and started counting the change. I was about to give it back to her and send her on her way when something about her made me pause. I do not know what it was at first. Maybe it was the sweat on her face. Maybe it was how still she stood. Maybe it was the way her shoulders did not rise and fall like she was breathing normally. Maybe it was the fact that Titan, if I had owned a dog back then, would probably have started growling. But there was no dog. There was only me, the little girl, the register, and the bright gas station lights. She noticed me studying her. Her eyes lifted to mine. They were not scared anymore. They were focused, too focused. Then she opened her mouth and said, "Which brand of cigs are up to your liking, sir?" For 1 second, my brain simply refused to accept what I heard. The words were the same words I had said to the man minutes earlier. The exact same sentence. The same rhythm. The same fake politeness. But that was not the worst part. The voice was mine. It came from the little girl's throat, but it was my voice, not just a similar voice. Mine, the same tired tone I used at work, the same way I softened the word sir, the same forced customer service sweetness, with that little rough edge from smoking too much. My stomach dropped so hard, it felt like I had been punched. The girl stared at me. I stared back. The store suddenly felt unreal. The lights seemed too bright. The hum of the coolers grew louder. My hands were still holding her change, but I could not feel the coins anymore. "What?" I whispered. She did not answer. My mouth went dry. I tried to laugh, but no sound came out right. I looked toward the window again, expecting to see the mother in the car, maybe watching, maybe smiling like this was some kind of horrible prank. The car was gone, not pulling away, not driving off. Gone, the pump was empty. I looked back at the girl. She smiled. Her left eye twitched, just slightly. The smile spread across her face in a way no child's smile should. It was too controlled, too wide. Then I saw her teeth. They were adult teeth, perfect, straight, white adult teeth inside the mouth of a small child. I stepped back from the counter. $13, I said, but my voice was shaking badly now. I don't know why I said that. Maybe my mind had grabbed the last normal sentence it knew and threw it out like a shield. "What the hell are you doing?" The girl kept smiling. "With tax, sir," she said. Again, it was my voice, not a recording, not an imitation. It sounded alive. It had breath behind it. It had my little tired sigh hidden in the words. It had the scratch of my throat, the dullness of my shift, the shape of my mouth. Something moved inside my head when she spoke. That is the only way I can describe it. It felt like reality had slipped sideways, and part of me slid with it. The floor seemed farther away. The counter seemed taller. My hands looked wrong for half a second, as if they belonged to someone else. The little girl began to rise, not like she stood on her toes, not like she stretched. She grew. Her body lengthened in front of me. Her arms stretched down. Her shoulders widened. Her face changed in tiny, horrible pieces, like wet clay being pulled into a new shape. The child's round cheeks thinned. The eyes moved slightly. The jaw changed. I could not move. A small circle of metal appeared in her nose, my septum piercing. I touched my own nose and felt the ring still there, but the sight of it on her made my mind crack open in a way I do not know how to explain. Her hair darkened. Her body kept growing. The uniform shirt on me suddenly felt loose and heavy, like it no longer belonged to my shape. Or maybe I was shrinking. That was what it felt like I was becoming smaller while she became more real. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. The girl, or whatever she was becoming, stood behind the counter now, taller than before, still smiling with those perfect adult teeth. The face was not fully mine yet, but it was close enough that I felt like I was staring at a bad reflection in a broken mirror. I looked down at my hands again. They seemed pale, too small. Then the whole store tilted. The lights stretched into long white lines. The hum of the coolers became a deep roaring sound. The register display blurred. I felt myself falling, but not toward the floor. It felt like I was being pulled upward and downward at the same time, out of my own body, out of my own name, out of everything that made me me. The last thing I saw before everything went black was the thing behind the counter smiling with my mouth. I woke up to someone shaking me. At first, I thought I was still in the gas station. I could hear a voice saying my name, sharp and worried. My eyes opened, and I saw my manager crouched over me. His face was pale, and his breath smelled like coffee. "What did you take?" he asked. I blinked at him. "What? Drugs? Alcohol? Pills? What did you take?" I was on the floor behind the counter. My head hurt. My mouth tasted bitter. The store lights buzzed overhead like nothing had happened. The register was still there. The cigarette rack was still behind me. The coffee station was quiet. There was no little girl, no mother, no car, no thing wearing my face. I pushed myself up, but my manager told me to stay still. He looked angry, but scared too. I told him I had not taken anything. I said I must have passed out. I said maybe I was dehydrated or sick. I denied everything because I did not know how to explain the truth. He did not believe me, but he did not push it too hard. I think he wanted the problem out of the store more than he wanted answers. He sent me home and told me I was going on paid sick leave until I could bring a doctor's note. At the time, I was grateful. I went home and tried to convince myself that I had suffered some kind of episode. Maybe I had fainted and dreamed the whole thing. Maybe the little girl was real, but my brain had twisted the memory as I lost consciousness. Maybe there was no child at all. But deep down, I knew something had happened. I felt wrong. That is the part I cannot prove. But it is the part I keep coming back to. I felt like something had been taken from me. Not my wallet, not my phone, not anything I could touch. My identity, my place in the world. It felt like someone had reached inside me and stolen the shape of who I was, then left me with the leftovers. For the next day, I stayed home. I ignored most calls. I slept badly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that child smiling with adult teeth. I heard my own voice coming out of her mouth. "Which brand of cigs are up to your liking, sir?" With tax, sir. The words circled in my head until I wanted to tear them out. Then yesterday, everything got worse. I was watching the news because I needed noise in the room. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, wrapped in a blanket, trying to drink coffee, even though my hands would not stop shaking. The story on TV changed from weather to breaking news. Then, my picture appeared on the screen. My face, my name. Under it, in bright, red, bold letters, was the word wanted. I stopped breathing. The news anchor spoke in a serious voice. "I will not list everything they said. I do not want those crimes connected to this post more than they already are. I do not want to write the details." But they were terrible. Violent, cruel, the kind of things that make people lock their doors and check on their children. And according to the news, I had done them. They showed security footage from different places. A parking lot, a store, a hallway. The footage was not perfect, but it was clear enough. It was me. At least, it looked like me. Same hair, same face, Same walk, same body, same piercing. But I knew it was not me. I had been home. I had been scared, confused, and sick. I had not done any of those things. But who would believe that? Who would believe that a little girl with adult teeth stole my appearance inside a gas station? My phone started ringing almost immediately. First my mother, then my sister, then two friends, then my boss, then numbers I did not recognize. Calls came one after another until I turned the sound off. I looked at the screen and saw hundreds of missed calls building up like evidence against me. My boss left a voicemail, but I have not listened to it. My family kept texting me. What is going on? Call us now. Tell me this isn't true. Where are you? The police are looking for you. I could not answer. What was I supposed to say? That something was walking around with my face? That I was not the person on the news, even though the whole world would see my body doing those things? I packed what I could. Some clothes, cash, a charger, cigarettes, a hoodie, a knife from the kitchen that I pray I never have to use. I know running makes me look guilty, but staying means being arrested for things I did not do. And if that thing can become me once, I do not know what else it can do. I am already risking too much by posting this. Maybe the police can track it. Maybe the thing can see it somehow. Maybe it is already using my face to do something worse while I sit here typing. But I had to warn someone. If you work nights, be careful. If a child comes in alone, watch their teeth. If they repeat something you just said, leave. Do not ask questions. Do not try to help. Do not stand there and make sense of it. Run, because I think it does not just copy your voice. I think it learns you. And once it has enough of you, it takes your place. Story 5. I have to stay awake while they cut me open. So while they do it, I am going to tell you about my first love. Waiting to die is worse than dying. I know that now. Death itself might be quick. It might be dark. It might even be peaceful, if you are lucky. But waiting for it, feeling it coming closer while your body is trapped and your mind is still awake, is something crueler than anything I can explain. The drugs are already inside me. They slide through my veins like ice water mixed with poison. They are meant to keep me still, not asleep. That is the important part. I am not allowed to sleep through this. I am not allowed to disappear before they start taking me apart. They call it a precaution. I know what it really is. They are scared of me. Of course they are. They should be. Every person in this room is already in a relationship. Every person here has someone they love, or someone who loves them, or someone they have touched with more meaning than they should. That makes them weak. That makes them afraid. The operating theater is freezing cold. My body lies on a metal table, bare and strapped down, like meat laid out for cutting. Bright lights hang above me, so white they almost feel sharp. Masked figures stand around the table. They lean over me with covered faces and gloved hands, looking at me like I am not a man, but a thing to study. Predators. That is what they are. They circle me and decide which pieces of me they want. My blood, my heart, my lungs, my brain, the infected parts, the useful parts, the parts they can slice away and put under glass. But to them, I am the monster. I am the one with teeth. I am the one they are afraid of, even though they are the ones holding blades. I am not the first person they have taken. If I turn my head as much as the straps allow, I can see another body on a gurney. It is covered with a sheet, a body-shaped lump lying still under white fabric. Whoever they were given mercy. They were allowed to die before this room got to them. For a moment, even the drugs cannot push down the anger in me. Lucky them. This operating room seems too big and too small at the same time. The ceiling feels far away. The walls seem to stretch into the distance like a place from a bad dream. There are 4 exit doors, 4 ways out, but none of them matter. To me, the walls are closing in. The doors might as well be painted on. Cold hands grab my face and force me to stare into the bright light above me. Their touch is careful, professional, and I hate it. I hate the rough feeling of latex against my skin. I hate that they touch me like I am already dead. I hate that one of them removes the muzzle from my mouth only to replace it with a tube forced down my throat. I gag hard. My body arches against the straps. Velcro bites into my arms and legs as I try to fight. One of the figures shoves me back down against the table. Administer 200 milliliters of midazolam, a man says. He is standing over me, staring through thick eye protection. Gray lenses hide his eyes, but they do not hide his pleasure. He likes this. Maybe he tells himself he does not, but I can feel it in the room. I am supposed to be awake. That is the law. Because I am technically still a citizen, I must be awake to witness my own dissection. I do not know who wrote that rule or what kind of sick person thought it was fair. Maybe they wanted the infected to remain human until the last second. Maybe they wanted us to understand what we had become. Or maybe they wanted revenge. I barely feel the new drug enter my veins. Instead, I laugh around the tube in my throat. It comes out wet and ugly. I can see one of the masked figures running blood-slicked gloves down my chest, marking where he wants to cut first. Can I tell you guys something? I whisper. No one answers. The dissection begins. I ignore the first cut. I try it anyway. The blade opens my skin and red spreads across the flimsy hospital gown. The color is so bright it startles me. I stare at it, confused for 1 second. Since when has my blood looked so alive? I force myself to look up at the light instead. I pretend it is heavenly. That is the strange gift of the human mind. Even when your body is being cut apart, your mind can still lie to you. It can still make a story. It can say this is not happening. It can say that light above you is not surgical, but holy. It can say pain is only pressure. It can say death is not close. I speak again because maybe they did not hear me the first time. Can I tell you something? Sure, kid, the man cutting me open, says, I hate being called kid. I am 25 years old. Too old to look like a high school student, too young to be treated like a real adult. That is what people like me have become. Kids when they want to dismiss us. Specimens when they want to cut us open. If I were really a kid, they would not be allowed to do this. The surgeon's scalpel moves steadily through my skin. A thin river of red follows the blade. The drugs numb some of it, but not enough. I can still feel the idea of the cut. I can still sense the wrongness of my body opening. I wonder how he plans to take me apart. Will he start with my blood, my organs, my heart? Which parts of me are special? Which parts can be left on the floor? The masked man works calmly, pulling me open. His voice is gentle, which somehow makes it worse. He adjusts the light and slips a metal clamp into the cavity in my chest. It pries me open wider. Maybe he is going for my heart first. That would make sense. The heart is the root of infection, after all. Why don't you tell us all a story, he says, Dr. Carter, another masked figure, hisses. This one is a woman. We were clearly told not to engage with the subject. Dr. Carter chuckles. Marie, he says, do you know the story of the chicken that kept running after its head was cut off? Yes, she replies. Her voice is flat. Maybe she has to make it that way. There is silence for a moment. All I can see is the bright light, the masks, and the red opening of my own body. The scalpel digs deeper. Cold, cruel, careful. I wonder when my body will give up. Will I stay awake until he unravels everything? Will I watch until there is nothing left inside me to beat, pump, or breathe? In the case of the chicken, Dr. Carter continues, the head was fully removed from the body. He turns and picks up a saw. The sound of the blades starting makes something inside me tighten. I try not to cry out. The chicken was not alive, he says. Not really, but because of leftover nerve activity, it still moved. It ran in circles, round and round until it finally stopped. He laughs like this is funny. Then his hidden eyes find mine. The chicken was not alive, he says softly. It only thought it was alive. Right, Marie says, tense, Doctor. Carter tilts his head toward her. Are you in distress? You can leave if you cannot stomach it. I can perform the dissection alone. No, she says quickly. I'm fine. I am stupid enough for 1 second to think she might feel sorry for me. Maybe I am not human to Dr. Carter. Maybe I am not human to anyone anymore. But I still look like one. My face is still young. My eyes still move. My mouth still tries to speak. Maybe that bothers her. The younger surgeon pulls down her mask for a moment. I'm fine, she repeats. Get your shit together, Marie, Doctor, Carter says. He confuses me. He has the knowledge and tools of a professional, but he speaks like a cruel boy who never grew up. He pauses the saw and looks back at me. I hold his gaze and pretend I cannot see the amusement in the folds of his mask. I have a hypothesis, he says. Given the heightened neural activity and the subject's condition after infection, we may see something entertaining when the head is removed. His attention fixes on me. I understand then. He is making the procedure slow on purpose. He wants to leave the right nerves alive. He wants me to react. He wants me, like the chicken, to dance for his amusement. Go on, he says. His voice is almost excited. Tell us a bedtime story. So I spit at him. Blood fills my mouth, thick and metallic. At the same time, his blade stabs into my upper chest. Maybe he hits part of my respiratory tract. My body jerks violently. Suddenly, I cannot breathe. And for a second, that feels like freedom. My eyes roll back. Darkness opens around me. I let it come. We're in Marie shouts. Her voice rings inside my skull, far away and frantic. It sounds like waves moving in and out while my brain tries to shut down. Dr. Carter, the higher-ups were very clear. We must keep it awake through the dissection. The subject is still a citizen. I am aware, Carter says. Defibrillator, charged to 200. Pressure slams into my chest. I am choking on red fluid that pours from my mouth. Again, charge. Come on, Carter snaps. I need a rhythm. I need a heartbeat. More pressure. Then someone says, pulse, we've got a pulse. Darkness pulls back. My eyes fly open. Through blurry light, I see the wet red of my exposed lung tissue. I try to turn my head away, but gloved fingers force it back. No. Something inside me breaks. My body contracts, and blood sprays upward. Marie is over me now, pressing something plastic to my mouth, forcing air into my lungs. Her eyes are wide behind her protection. She is terrified. I cannot tell if she is terrified for me or terrified of what will happen to her if I die too soon. Fear crawls into me. A raw cry tears up my throat. The metal table trembles under me. Marie notices one of my arms has slipped partly free. She lunges forward. Her eye protection comes loose, and for 1 second, I see her real eyes. Blue, young, terrified. She is younger than I thought. Maybe a medical student forced into this before she was ready. Her face crumples. Fuck. Are you all right? Carter asks. She nods and grabs for her eye protection. Yes, did it make direct eye contact with you? No. Did any blood touch your face? Marie turns to the sink and plunges her trembling hands into the water. She checks every line of her palm, every nail, every crease, scraping at her skin like she wants to remove it. No. I think I'm clean. Carter's voice hardens. You think you're clean, or you are clean? She pulls on fresh gloves quickly. I am clean, Sir Good. Hold it down. Hands grip my arms and pin me to the table. No, I do not want to be awake. I do not want to be alive. I am coughing, shaking, and trying to disappear inside myself. My eyes flicker back and forth. Marie leans away, her gloves dripping red. The subject is stable, she gasps. Her face is pale. Her eyes are half-lidded, like she is holding back a scream. She wipes her gloves on her scrubs and pulls down her mask. For 1 strange second, she smiles. I've successfully stabilized the young man, she says. Dr. Carter does not look up from the flaps of skin he is peeling back. Young man? He repeats. Yes, Marie says, almost breathless. I saved him. He sighs. Keep it alive, no matter what. Then Dr. Carter looks at me again. Speak, kid, he orders. You wanted to tell us something, correct? Again with kid. I have to choose my words carefully. My thoughts are spinning, but I still have them. Somehow, even with my body open and my throat damaged, I still have a voice. When I was 18, I squeeze out. Dr. Carter lifts one gloved hand. Wait a moment. Then, in a blink, he pulls a pistol from his scrubs, presses the barrel against Marie's head, and pulls the trigger. I barely flinch when her blood sprays across me. Her body drops to the floor. Dr. Carter returns to the procedure like nothing happened. Continue, he mutters. When you were 18? So I do. Somehow, when I was 18 years old, I realized I might be a sociopath. It happened at Joey Brecker's end-of-school senior party. I was tipsy from several beers, sitting on the edge of the pool with my feet hanging in the cool blue water. The night was hot. Music shook through the backyard. People laughed, shouted, splashed, and made bad choices in all directions. I leaned forward over the pool, and for a moment, it felt good. Like I was falling, but also not falling. Some kids already in the water cheered for me to jump in. I lifted my beer in a lazy salute instead. Summer heat prickled my skin. Sweat stuck my hair to my forehead. Mirren, my best friend, crouched in front of me. Her head tilted like she was studying me. She grabbed both my arms and swung them playfully. Can I ask you something? I laughed and took another sip. Depends what. She laughed too hard, and I had to grab her to keep her from tipping over. When I pulled her closer, I saw her eyes widen. Her breath caught. Mirren was beautiful. She had freckles across her cheeks and short blonde hair that she almost always pulled back. I knew she was beautiful because everyone said she was, and because I could see the facts of her face. But knowing someone is beautiful is not the same as feeling anything about it. I should have loved her. I should have wanted her. We had been best friends since we were little. She fell in love with me when we were 8 years old and proposed to me on the beach with a candy ring. I said yes because I was 8, and candy seemed like a good reason to agree to anything. But I kept waiting to feel something as we grew up. I thought feelings would arrive the way puberty did. One morning, I would wake up and suddenly understand desire, love, jealousy, longing, all of it. I thought maybe I would look at Mirren one day and feel what everyone else seemed to feel. She told me love felt like butterflies, like warmth fluttering in your chest, like drowning in your own heart. Very poetic. Unfortunately for her, when I looked into her eyes, I felt none of that. I did not hate her. I did not dislike her. I cared whether she lived or died, at least in the way you care about someone who has always been near you. But she was like white paint to me, tasteless yogurt, a cloudy sky, present, familiar, but without color. Hey, I said, how much did you drink? She made a face. I'm an adult. I smiled despite myself and helped her sit. She mostly fell onto her backside, leaning sideways. Hey, Jem, she said, looking at me through fluttering lashes. She touched my chin with her painted nails and turned my face toward hers. Can I ask you a question? You already asked me that, I said. She frowned, mouth slightly open. Oh, I let her play with my hair. Yes, I said. My best friend looked at me for a long moment. Are you like a sociopath who can't feel? The words cut through me. I did not know I could be hurt like that. Maybe that was a feeling. If it was, I hated it. What is that supposed to mean? I asked, trying to sound calmer than I felt. Mirren's eyes widened. Oh no, I didn't mean it like that. But she had. She reached for me, but her arms slipped around my neck, pulling us closer. Her breath touched my cheek, warm and heavy with beer. How about now? She whispered. Before I could answer, she kissed me. It was warm and quick, and somehow it felt like a goodbye. She tasted like lip gloss and beer. Her skin was hot and sticky against mine. I waited for the fireworks, the explosions, the butterflies. Nothing came. The party continued around us, dull and flat and colorless. Mirren was a good kisser, I suppose. I kissed her back because that seemed like the correct thing to do. I copied her movements. I touched her the way I thought she wanted me to. Her hands were frantic, full of need I did not understand. People call that passion. To me, it looked like hunger. She kissed harder, biting my lip enough to hurt. I felt pain, but nothing else. I tried to follow her. I tried to become the kind of person she wanted me to be, but my touch was wrong. Empty, mechanical. Eventually, she felt it. She pulled away, flushed and breathing hard. Then she kissed my cheek, stood up, and walked away. That is fascinating, Doctor, Carter's voice says, pulling me back to the present. The light above me blooms behind my eyelids. I am awake, but not fully here. My body is still being cut apart. The room is colder now. I imagine the peace of death wrapping around me, but something keeps me from falling into it. A boy who does not know how to love, Doctor, Carter says. Tell me more. So I do. I tell him that I tried to feel. Intimacy was not just something I wanted. I craved it. I wanted proof that I was human. When I started college, I rebuilt myself as an extrovert. I joined a frat. I went to parties. I chased relationships, both romantic and physical, because I thought one of them might wake something inside me. I kissed girls and guys. I slept beside people whose names I barely remembered. I tried again with Mirren at her 19th birthday party. But every empty touch, every awkward kiss, every clumsy night led me to the same answer. I did not know how to love. Everyone else lived in color. They fell in love, got crushes, desired each other, missed each other, broke each other's hearts, and somehow understood what to do next. They were driven by instinct, warmth, passion. I lived in black and white. Then, on a random Monday in June, I stopped worrying about whether I could feel. The cafeteria was packed. I sat squeezed between two strangers, trying to eat a burger while Mirren sat on the table with her legs swinging. It was too warm, sticky heat pressing down from the open ceiling where sunlight baked the room. There was a strange smell in the air. Sweat mixed with something like cedar. Cologne someone had used far too much. A guy named Charlie was walking toward a group of girls. He was a freshman with a bad reputation, the kind of guy people laughed about in disgust. His shoulders slumped. His steps were uneven. Mirren sat up, interested. She lifted her phone and started recording. Charlie stopped in front of a girl named Evelyn. Evelyn, he said. His voice was strange, almost whining. Evelyn, Evelyn, Evelyn. The cafeteria slowly quieted. Charlie swayed on his feet. His eyes rolled slightly. His jaw hung loose. Evelyn, he repeated, over and over, until she finally turned toward him. A red blush spread across her cheeks. She looked embarrassed, then angry. "You didn't call me," Charlie said loudly. He stepped closer. I noticed something then. A red stain was spreading across the white of his left eye, thin and watery, like diluted blood. "You didn't call me, Evelyn," he said again. His face twitched. His fists opened and closed. Then he started sobbing, but his mouth stretched into a manic grin. Evelyn stood frozen. Charlie laughed, and blood spilled from his mouth. That was when the screaming started. Students jumped back. Chairs scraped. Bags fell. Mirren stood, still holding her phone. Evelyn's friends tried to pull her away, but Evelyn did not move. Instead, she stepped closer and gently cupped Charlie's cheeks. "We had a great time," Charlie said. "And you never called." "Charlie," Evelyn said softly. "I dated you for a bet." Then Charlie lunged. He sank his teeth into her neck and tore her throat open. The cafeteria exploded. Charlie threw himself into the crowd, biting, tearing, attacking anyone close enough to reach. People ran, people fell. Tables overturned. Blood spread across the floor. But I was the only one who noticed Evelyn was not dead. Her body jerked on the ground. Her neck twisted at an impossible angle. Her eyes snapped open, and red spread across her pupils. She rose to her feet and lunged at the nearest person. "Jem." Mirren screamed. I tried to move toward her, but the world had gone slow and wrong. A dark-haired boy jumped onto Mirren's back and dragged her down. I remember her eyes, wide and terrified. I remember her scream. Then the boy plunged his hand into her chest and pulled out her heart. My best friend. The girl who once called herself my soulmate. By the time I reached her, crawling through blood and bodies, she was already changing. I do not remember every second after that. I remember counting my steps because it was the only way to stay sane. 1, 2, 3, 4. I remember students alive 1 second and dead the next. Running, then falling. Screaming, then choking. I remember Mirren sitting up with her head hanging strangely, her broken body dragging itself toward an infected boy. Evelyn and Charlie were wrapped around each other, chewing at each other's faces. I did not understand the virus yet, but I understood one thing. It was not spread only through blood or bites. There was a pattern. The infected were faster, hungrier, and obsessed with multiplying. Day one, my college campus was overrun by zombie-like creatures wearing the bodies of students. I watched my best friend's heart get ripped from her chest. I hid in a bathroom stall and locked the door. Only then did I see the bite on my shoulder. The wound was raw, deep and red. Teeth had torn through my skin. I pressed my hand over my mouth to stop myself from sobbing. Outside the stall, one of them was feeding. I could hear flesh ripping and bones cracking. I wrapped my jacket around my hands and tied my wrists together as best I could. Then I sat on the cold tile, leaned against the wall, closed my eyes, and waited to turn. Hours passed. Then days. I did not turn. By day two, I was sweating and shaking with fever. By day four, the bite began to heal, leaving a dark vein-like rash crawling along my neck and down my back. By day 8, I ate half a candy bar from my backpack. By day 10, I drank a full bottle of water and managed to stand. On day 12, I opened the stall. The corpse outside the door had split open across the floor. I tried not to look at it. I went to the mirror and saw a ghost staring back. My skin was pale. My hair stuck to my forehead. In the white of my right eye, a single red smudge had appeared. Thin black veins ran down my spine and across my shoulder. I was infected. But I had not turned. When I tried to open the bathroom door, it would not move. Then I heard footsteps outside. "Anyone in there?" a male voice asked. "Are you infected?" I pulled my jacket higher to hide the bite. "No," I lied. "Cover your eyes," he said. "What?" "Cover your eyes, or you're on your own." The door cracked open, and a torn piece of cloth slid inside. I picked it up and tied it around my eyes. "All right," I said. "My eyes are covered." The door opened. I heard someone step closer. Then I felt him standing right in front of me. "Eye contact is a form of transmission," he said. "The infection starts with a bite, but they do not fully transform until there is a mutual, intimate connection." I laughed because it sounded insane. "You're kidding." He shoved the door open and told me to walk. "Take off the blindfold," he said from behind me. "But don't look at me. Look at your feet. Then tell me I'm kidding."